Hi, welcome to Exploring the Illusion of Free Will. My name is George Ortega, and this is episode number 111, Why People Believe in Free Will. We're going to go over, why exactly people believe in this, because it really doesn't make sense. Again, this is like the 111th episode we've devoted to explaining why. My co-host Enel, who I'm going to refer to as my on again, off again co-host, because it's like he's here 3 weeks and he's gone for 3 weeks and here whatever. He's not here and wasn't here last week. Isn't going to be here next week. He'll be here for the next 3 weeks after that, and probably he'll be off again. Anyway, which is when he's not here, the shows are better in a certain sense because I don't get interrupted. When he's not here, I can finish my sentences. You'll notice when we're together. I don't know. But on the other hand, like when he's here, the shows are more entertaining. You don't learn as much, but you have more fun. All right. So yeah, this show is. I might as well do a commercial before we get into this. We've got a meetup. I started it on April 7th, I think, 2010 in Manhattan. It's called Exploring the Illusion of Free Will. I mean, you can join it. It's like the first Saturday of each month. Okay, and this show shows here in White Plains every Thursday at 9 o'clock and every Wednesday at 7:30. Okay, then my co-host Enel, who lives in Manhattan, he produces our Manhattan show, which is called No Free Will, and it airs on Manhattan's cable station, MNN, that I think just has an outreach of like 3 million people, which is like a lot more than some network stations, across the country, in some rural areas, whatever. And it's a call-in show. It's a live call-in show. So that's on every Wednesday at 11 p.m. But we only tape live in the winter every 3 weeks or so, over the summer every other week or so. But what happens is when we're not taping live on that show, we present one of these shows. It's called No Free Will. All right. And Enel wrote a book, called The Nonsense of Free Will. I wrote a book called Exploring the Illusion of Free Will, which is the first 18 episodes of this show. It's free online. You can find it through the website. Okay, so anyway, we've been doing this for a few years, and the word's getting out. Okay, people are beginning to understand this. All right, on with the show. Why people believe in free will. Well, before we get into that, we just got to briefly define what we mean by free will. Free will is like if we had a free will, we could decide whatever we wanted without anything that's not in our control, like our unconscious, like causality, whatever, from getting in the way. Because these things get in the way, we don't have free will. If we had a free will, we would be fundamentally morally responsible. There's a difference between fundamental and pragmatic responsibility. We tend to hold ourselves responsible and each other, but when we do that, understanding nobody has a free will, it's much more compassionate, much more intelligent. We're not seeking to punish people because they're bad people. We're not feeling guilty, because we're bad people. It's we understand that when we do something wrong, punishment, threat of punishment, whatever, serves as a kind of deterrence, both for ourselves and others. But so basically, what we're referring to is pragmatic moral responsibility. Ultimately, because we didn't create ourselves, because we don't have a free will, we're not fundamentally morally responsible. Maybe we could blame God. I don't know. Maybe God has fundamental moral responsibility. Maybe he doesn't. Who knows? But certainly we don't. Okay. Another way of defining free will, some philosophers say that if we could have done otherwise, we have free will. We couldn't have done otherwise because the only way we could have done otherwise would be if the universe evolved differently. And I don't have time to explain this on this show, but basically that's a non-starter. We couldn't have done otherwise. And another definition is Kant's and Hume's, is they say we have free will when we have the will we want. In other words, if I can think and do what I want, I have a free will. That's an absurd definition of free will because we don't get to want what we want. In other words, our wants have causes, and our wants come from our unconscious. So, to think that Hume and Kant, who are supposed to be these really intelligent philosophers, got this so wrong, that'll tell you how pernicious, how insidious, how powerful this illusion of free will that's compelled on us by the universe is. All right, so that's why these are the definitions of free will. Now, so why do people believe we have a free will? the basic explanation is we don't have a choice in this. We have, if you believe that you have a free will, you have to believe it. And this is the 111th show. You could watch maybe like 200 shows. I doubt you could watch 1,000 shows and still believe in free will. But basically, for people who believe in free will, the universe wants you to believe in free will. The universe apparently wants the entire world right now to believe in free will, just like it wanted us to believe that the Earth was flat at a certain point. The Earth wanted us to believe that everything is motionless. We're traveling around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour, okay? But it's an illusion. A motionless Earth is an illusion. Also, the universe had us believe that the sun revolved around us. That's another illusion. We now know that we revolve around the sun. So the universe, Mother Nature, God, likes to do this with us. So we think we have a free will because the universe wants us. Now, I have to say, right now we're going through a period where the universe apparently doesn't want us to believe we have a free will anymore, and that's why I'm actually pioneering this. I'm the person who's just moved this, for this topic from where it's languished in academia for centuries, and I brought it out with my meetups, the book, the TV shows. I brought it up into the public, and it's it's a Scientific American Mind had an article on this, on the cover story. New Scientist magazine had a cover story, all within the last two years after I started my meetup and after I started the show and all. So anyway, so again, the universe is apparently thinking that, all right, maybe it's a good thing for them to not believe in free will. Why might that be a good thing? We've got climate change ahead of us for the next several decades, all right? And as things get more challenging, people are going to want to blame each other, blame whoever. And to the extent that we get this right, that we understand that no, we're not responsible for climate change, we're not responsible for anything, we'll have to do whatever we have to do, but we'll be able to do it more intelligently, more directly, without being distracted from blaming, by blaming others and ourselves and all that for stuff that we absolutely had to do, that was in our power. All right, so anyway, the first reason why people believe they have a free will is because they have no choice. Okay. Some people say that, well, I believe in free will because I experience my will as free. I experience that my thoughts are up to me, my choices are up to me. But no, that's just when you think about it, you might come up with that conclusion. It's a wrong conclusion, because basically what happens is you make a decision. What you're experiencing is making a decision. Okay, that's all you're experiencing. You might be experiencing, all right, I made a decision to have a salad for lunch or something, right? Because I'm a vegan. Okay, so I decided to have a salad for lunch because I'm a vegan, because I don't eat meat. In other words, we might say, but then I'd have to ask myself, well, why am I vegan? Well, because I don't, we torture animals. I don't like to torture animals. Why don't I like that? Because I think it's wrong. Why do I think it? So anyway, we could just trace the causes back to any decision. And ultimately, we don't know why we're doing stuff. And again, there's other ways of explaining this, but basically the point here is that we don't really experience that we have a free will. We experience thinking things and feeling things, and it's only when we come to question what's causing us to have these thoughts, decisions, feelings, that we wrongly conclude that we have a free will. And another, well, yeah, okay. For example, an example of this is the Greeks, who are probably arguably the civilization, the culture that investigated philosophy most completely. Maybe today we investigate it more because we have more resources, but back then, historically, they didn't have a term for will, they didn't have a term for free will, okay? So basically, all right, the idea is people say we experience free will, but when you think about it, free will is something you actually learned. It's something that you learned from your parents, from church, from elders. And the reason you learn it is because people need to hold you responsible. If you did something wrong. Well, why you punish me? Because you did it of your own free will. All right. Okay. So yeah. The idea of free will actually didn't in the church. It didn't start until about the 5th century A.D. Before that, it wasn't like part of church doctrine. So again, you've got a lot of time before. You've got like the Old Testament goes back 2,000 years B.C. Or even further back. So basically, one of the reasons we believe in free will is because of the church, because of religion. Because like religion says, if you don't believe what this book says, what these prophets who lived a long time ago said, then you are in danger of spending the rest of eternity after you die in a place where you're going to suffer horribly for the rest of eternity. Okay, now, if you're like 4 or 5 years old and you hear this stuff from your parents, the people who you trust the most, or from your minister or whatever, what do you know? And you're gonna say, well, all right, I better believe what they tell me, the church says, or whatever. Otherwise, So why do people believe in free will? Because people are afraid of going to hell. People are afraid that, and that's not the only thing they're afraid of, like with the beliefs, but that's one thing, okay? All right. And that kind of makes sense, all right. But all right, more fundamentally, because like a lot of time you could explain to people why they don't have a free will, and people will get it. Like if you watched my last show, it would be impossible not to get it pretty much. But people are going to continue to believe in free will because we don't like the fact that we're kind of like organic robots. We're biological robots. Nothing at all is up to us. We're completely hardwired, programmed like a computer. Our mind is like the hardware. Our thoughts are like the software, and it's programmed by God or by our unconscious, whatever. Again, we've done shows on this. So like, if we're robots, we can't take credit for the good we do. If we ace a test, we can't, or if there's somebody we're really attracted to, we think they're a great person, the thought that they're a great person or a very wonderful person, but they can't help to be the way they are, that doesn't sit well with some people. They so just like people don't like to consider ourselves robots or puppets, Muppets, whatever. And then another thing is like, if we're all robots, if nothing is up to us, then you can't really blame other people or ourselves for anything. And people like, sometimes we want to blame something. Something goes wrong, we want to blame somebody. All right, so that's another reason why people, believe in free will, why they want to. Another reason related to this is like, and this makes a lot of sense. You have to like, these are not like, inconsequential, trivial reasons. They do make sense. But, all right, like, basically a lot of the meaning we have in life, we've been conditioned and trained and educated to have this as meaning, is that, like, it's about self-growth. It's about becoming more of a person, becoming better. It's about, having purpose in our life. We're going to be the best people we can be. We're going to contribute to society. We're going to raise a family. We're going to do all these good things, and that gives our life meaning. So, like, to the extent that we understand we don't have free will, we're here. We're lucky if we do good things. We're lucky. We're fortunate. It's not up to us. And so, like, that meaning, why are we here? You ask that, why are we here? I mean, like, my guess is like, all right, God, let's say the universe is God, right? You've got the universe, and the universe is like, uni means one. So it's one thing, one reality. So, and God is one. There's not two gods. That's what monotheism is about. So if you've got this one God, all right, just existing eternally, after a few zillion, quadrillion years, what am I going to do? All right, so I'm guessing into this because, you can only guess. So God, I guess, figured, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this planet, this universe, and then have it evolve into this planet where these human beings come into being, and then, like, since I'm the only power in the universe, I can't give them a free will. They can't do whatever they want to do because I'm the only power. I'm the only power that exists. So what I'm going to do is, remember like when you were kids and you played, if you were a girl, you played with dolls. If you were a kid, a boy, you played with soldiers, or nowadays with video games, with all this stuff. Well, with video games, they do what, the machine wants. But like before that, if you were playing with soldiers or G.I. Joes or whatever, you're making them do everything. You're making them say everything. It's like you're God. And so that's how, that's how everything is. So that's, again, these little soldiers, there's no meaning. That if they had a mind, they're doing exactly what you make them do. So yeah, that's the thing. You got to, the meaning that we have in life changes. Now, fortunately, we're hardwired. God makes us seek pleasure and avoid pain. He makes us also moral. In other words, we're hardwired to do what we think is right. Sometimes we do what's wrong and then later understand that it's no, sometimes we do what is wrong, thinking it's right, and then later realize that it's wrong. Okay, but nonetheless, we tend to, and because of this, so nothing is up to us, but we're hardwired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, and that's good because if we're hardwired to seek pleasure, that means we have to do that, and if we're also hardwired to seek morality, to be good, that's also good that we're hardwired that way. It makes us better. Now, all right, I can't understand, in terms of this, we torture animals. I mean, 60 billion animals, cows, pigs, chickens, goats, sheep, then, rabbits, then the laboratory animals, the monkeys and all that. You wouldn't believe how horrible it is. I mean, we're supposed to be the most evolved, generation on the planet because of this evolution. We're supposedly getting more intelligent, better. But there has never been, a cruelty. I mean, it's difficult sometimes to compare treatment of animals to people because slavery was horrible and the world wars were horrible. But this is this has gone on year after year, 60 billion animals a year. And the thing is, it's not up to us. All right, the universe God is making us do this, which is a good reason why. It's good to understand we don't have a free will. We don't have to blame ourselves for this. Why does God do this? I don't know. It just makes no sense. But, all right. And actually, to the extent that we understand we don't have a free will, a lot of times we don't look at this stuff because it's so horrible. In psychology it's called denial. We'll deny it. We're denying climate change. The thought that we've destroyed the climate so much where future generations aren't going to have much of a chance, whatever. We can't accept that. And again, if we attribute it to ourselves with the free will thing, we're going to feel really bad. And that my guess is part of a huge part of the denial. We can't face it because we have this belief in free will. If we didn't believe we had free will, then we could say, all right, fine, it wasn't our fault, but we've got to do whatever we could face it directly, okay? All right, so why do people believe in God? I mean, in free will? Because we have this conception that God is all good. I mean, to believe that God is all good is a wonderful belief to have, So what happens is if we didn't believe in free will, we'd have to acknowledge to ourselves, well, either God is not all good, and I refuse to do that. I like to believe that God is all good, or, and this makes a bit less sense, God makes mistakes. In other words, the word sin in its Hebrew form, the original, it means missing the mark, as if you're shooting an arrow and you miss the target, okay? So it's missing the mark. So my guess is that I don't want to see God as evil, but he obviously clearly made a mistake, not just with this having us believe in free will, but with this whole pain thing, okay? If he would have created us, to just be completely blissed out, every moment of the day, whether we believed that we had a free will or not, just would be inconsequential. Who would care, okay? But it's his having created pain that, because the belief in free will creates problems. It creates a lot of unnecessary blame. I should go through this in the shows. I gotta remember to do this in the beginning of the shows. To when we believe we have a free will, we'll blame ourselves and others. We'll feel guilty for things. We'll feel boastful, prideful when we do good, and we'll envy people. Just if we didn't have this belief in free will, our civilization, our lives would go so much more smoothly. I mean, it'd be amazing. And it's going to happen, I would think. Okay, so why do people believe in free will? It's habit. we've been conditioned this way. We've been taught from a very early age that, yeah, of course we have free will. Of course, we don't question it. And like once you've had like a belief indoctrinated into you, because basically that's what it is, it's conditioned. It's like, you have no choice. If you're living in this society where, education, religion, law, everything just tells you you have free will, you're going to, unless you've got a pretty strong mind, you're going to believe it. So like what happens is, like, if you have this kind of belief for years and somebody gives you like this show, like my meetups, conclusive, irrefutable evidence that you don't have free will, that creates what in psychology is known as cognitive dissonance. It's an uncomfortable feeling, like you have a held belief from the past, all of a sudden you've got this evidence that says the belief is wrong. It creates this tension, okay? So you're going to try to resolve the tension. You're going to like say, well, no, like who is this guy telling me that I don't have free will? What does he know? Or, what he says sounds kind of right, but I feel like I have a free will. You'll make up reasons, you'll make up rationalizations, anything to reduce the cognitive dissonance. Now, if after a while, and this is like the hope of the show and all that, after a while, for people, they're saying to themselves, no, I don't know what I'm talking about, no, like we absolutely do have free will. After hearing why we don't for a certain amount of time, then that dissonance, also with time, it helps it. The dissonance lessens, and so till finally you can accept that we don't have free will. There's a guy in my meetup. I've done about 40 events in Manhattan. We have a meetup every first Saturday of each month in Madison Avenue, 55th, 56th Street. And so like this guy comes to almost all of the meetups, monthly meetups, and for a long time he understood the logic of why we didn't have free will, but he refused to give up the belief. Finally, about a few months ago, he said, all right, I get it, I believe it. And you know why he finally believes it? Because I think we explained to him how it's in his interest, in his better interest, to understand that free will is an illusion, okay? Because like, we're programmed to kind of like believe our best interest. All right, why do people believe in free will? Peer pressure. Peer pressure. If like, half of Americans believe in Adam and Eve over evolution. They believe that the first woman was ripped out of the stomach, or came from the rib of Adam. They believe that these guys talk to serpents. So like you've got like 50% of Americans have very strong religious beliefs. And so like if you're living in a society where like you have certain beliefs like free will is a fundamental religious belief. It justifies priests and ministers and rabbis threatening people with hell. Because if people understood, if everyone understood there was no free will, there would be no logical, just reason for anyone going to hell. Because that would be absurd to like punish somebody eternally for something that they have had absolutely no choice but to do. But anyway, so you've got everybody that believes in this, and like you got to be a pretty independent person. You got to like say to yourself, well, I don't care what people think. I believe in truth, I believe in reality, I believe in sanity. Because let me tell you something, the first fundamental fact of human existence is we exist. The second fundamental fact is we do things. So for us, for collectively as a world, as a humanity, to get the second fundamental fact of human existence completely wrong, thinking we have a free will and we don't, that's insane. That is very, very insane. So anyway, to overcome that, you really have to be independent. You have to like, you go along with others, in social norms and stuff. But in terms like, reason and stuff, no, you gotta go raise yourself above the popular misunderstanding of stuff. Okay. All right, so yeah, we're running out of time. It's like got about 3 minutes. And again, why do people believe in free will? We have no choice. We have to believe we have free will. Actually, that's there's a Jewish writer. I can't remember his name, but he says that. He says, of course I have a free will. I have no choice but believe I have free will. Something like. But anyway, it's not up to us. Like if you believe in free will, you're conditioned to believe in free will. You haven't thought it out enough to to overcome the belief. The reason you haven't thought it out enough is not up to you. Whatever reasons there are, you didn't. It's like your conditioning. It's your genetics. It's your level of intelligence, your experience, your learning. All this stuff makes you who you are. And like for me, for whatever reason, it made me like, I didn't decide to not believe in free will. I didn't decide to understand this and do the show on it and stuff. Nothing that I'm doing is up to me, all right? So again, with you, with everyone. People believe that we have a free will because they have no choice but to believe it. And, it's just very fortunate that the universe, because clearly, I should bring this sometime. Before 2010, there were very few articles in mainstream magazines on this. Between 2010 and 2012, there are at least 3 dozen, again, including a cover story in scientific magazine Mind and a cover story by the magazine New Scientist, the weekly British science magazine. These are cover stories. So again, before this, so basically the universe is saying, all right, once I had you believe the world was flat, now you understand it's an orb. Once I had you believe that you had a free will, now I want you to understand you don't. So we're coming to this new understanding because we're made to. It's not our choice. We're not freely willing to understand this. And the hope is that as we begin to understand, as we understand that nobody has a free will, we're going to be so much more compassionate toward each other. We're going to be more compassionate to ourselves. We'll stop wasting so much energy being angry at people, being angry at ourselves. Just like the free will belief creates so much contention, so much hostility, so much unnecessary aggression that if we were to do without it, and hopefully, this will happen soon, the world is going to be much, much kinder, much happier, much better, because again, with the free will belief, we're like, all right, I've run out of time, got 20 seconds, so this is why people believe in free will. There may be other reasons, it's not a conclusive list, but I hope you understand it. And all right, check us out every Wednesday, 7:30 on Wednesdays, all right, 9 o'clock on Thursdays. Thanks for watching, bye.